Today, I just wanted to answer the question, if I was to go back in time and talk to my younger self, what would I tell myself? What advice, property investing advice would I give myself to get ahead, knowing what I know now? My name is Thomas O'Regan. I have an 11 property portfolio and I'm a property investor here in Australia. Me and my wife have built this portfolio. It's now worth $4 million and we've done that in the space of 3.5 years. And the amount of money we started with in terms of capital was $45,000. We saved up $45,000 to start investing, and that was, I swear, the last time we ever saved money ever again to invest in property. So getting the property portfolio, or getting getting our first property to our 11th, it cost us of our own money $45,000. So there's not many people out there that can say that. A lot of property investors pour a lot of money into their portfolio, but I'm not one of them. But yeah, if I did, instead of only putting $45,000 into my property portfolio, and I put a lot more because I could have, instead of spending on holidays and getting married and things like that, I could have just put all my excess money into building a property portfolio. Our property portfolio would be a lot larger now, but I guess I just like having a nice lifestyle. And with saying that, what I would tell myself, and it's a bit obvious, I guess. I feel like most investors, if they can go back in time, they'll tell themselves to buy more property. It's not the mistakes that I made, which I'm not upset about, because I did make a lot of mistakes in property. But it's what I regret looking back is the missed opportunity costs. Like, the reality is, probably at the peak of our portfolio growth, we were buying, in 1 year, me and my wife bought 6 properties in Perth, and we were going very hard at the time, and it was stressful to buy that many properties. But the reality is, I could have pushed harder, because I feel like at the time I was only going about 50%. We were pushing hard, but I felt like I could have probably at least pushed twice as hard, and really maximized that opportunity that was available in the time that the Perth market was at the start of its market cycle. It was about to boom, and I knew it, I could feel it, I saw what was happening, and I just sort of coasted through there. And many people might think, oh yeah, you bought 6 properties. That doesn't really sound like you coast 6 properties in 1 year. That doesn't really sound like you're coasting. But the reality is, I was definitely coasting, and we could have went so much harder. Those properties we were buying were between $160,000 and $220,000. So it wasn't too hard to buy one after the other. But the reality is now, most of those properties today, 2.5, 3 years later, are worth, have all doubled, and they are all generating roughly about $120 positive cash flow each per week. Per week. Yeah, that's a lot of money. So imagine if we bought double of what we did buy. We could potentially, instead of me sitting here saying I have a $4 million portfolio, I could be sitting here saying I have an $8 million portfolio, and our cash flow position would be a lot stronger as well. So yeah, definitely I've made a lot of mistakes in my portfolio. Most of the mistakes I made, I'm constantly making mistakes, but I guess one of the mistakes we made was we bought houses that we thought were nice to live in, and we lived in them, and we spent a lot of money on renovating them, which that's when I discovered I don't want to grow wealth like that anymore. I don't want to physically have to add value to properties to grow wealth, because the reality is the value that it actually adds is extremely small. Like maybe, but potentially, or for us anyway, we for example, we spent, for example, like $20,000 on a renovation, and that only really increased the property value by like $25,000-$30,000. So it was a lot of work, and it was expensive, and it only really increased the property portfolio by a very small amount of time. So it didn't really see that as a very good ROI. Whereas that's when I discovered something far more powerful and far more easy to grow a property portfolio. And that was letting the market do the work for you. If you're able to identify markets that have or are at the start of their growth cycle, that is where all the heavy lifting is going to be done in your property portfolio. That is where all the wealth is going to be created in your property portfolio journey. And the reality is, it's far easier than getting hammers and nails and timber and doing a renovation, or even just managing a renovation. Even developers, right? Like, I think developers' profit margins are usually around the 20%. Like, why would you want to make 20% on your money when you can make 100% on your money? When I invest my money, when I put money into a deal, when I invest my money, I want to see 100% return on my money in a very short space of time. And the reality is, when it comes to renovating and developing, it takes time. It takes a very long time. There's no way to shortcut, or there's no way to, there is, I don't know. I'm not a developer. I don't like renovations, but it's very hard to do developments or renovations in a short period of time. So effectively, you're tying up a lot of, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but renovating, developing, you're tying up a lot of capital for not a very big gain. Just let the market do the work. And I guess I'll finish this video with saying, if you are able, buy property. Invest in as much property as you possibly can. Build the largest asset base you possibly can, because the larger the asset base that you take through a cycle, the more wealthy you will become. Hopefully that helped. See ya.